This message is intended for Creality for the CR-6 SE. I've been having motor issues with Z1, Z2, Y, and E. Got the machine Thursday, set it up Sunday, and at first I followed the instructions. I went through the instructions, and on instruction number 7 it says level the platform, um, which I did, and it leveled out perfectly fine. And then I ended up hitting the home all button right here. Once I hit the home all button, the machine came up with a symbol or a section saying that homing all, and it stayed at that screen for about 3 to 5 minutes. I turned off the machine, and now my motors do not work. This is reaching out to Creality, and Creality told me to flash the firmware. Flashing the firmware does not work, and I was told to send in an instruction video to show them what I have done. So according to them, I need to format my SD card to FAT32 and do a quick format on the card. So format is now complete. Close that, open the card back up, and then I am going to send the bin file to the SD card, eject the SD card, and the power is unplugged. SD card into SD slot. And they say when I plug this in and power the unit up, the screen is supposed to update the firmware, and it's supposed to stay black for 10 seconds. Mine does not do that. It auto loads into normal operation. So the firmware is not updating for whatever reason. So to go back to what I was saying about the motors not working, if I go to the prepare screen right here and manually move the motors, it comes up and says that the motors are in a negative state. So if I manually move the motor, let's say I want to move Y, it's going to move it 10 millimeters in the up direction if I click Y up. And nothing happens. It doesn't even show that it's moving. So let's say if I go 10 meters in the right direction on X, it moved it 10 in the system, but it did not move it here. I can manually move everything up, down, no problems. Everything moves fine. Let's see if move it in the Z direction. See, it moves it here, but does not move it here. Let's try Y again. Doesn't move it. And disable. So you can see that it's trying to move it. Let's go back to move. So let's go another 10 millimeters in the X direction. So just changed it to 15, and it should be moving it. Disable step promoter. So now we know that it should be moving it, but it's not. Let's turn the motor off. Let's try it again with, let's go down 10. disable stepper motor on. So this should stop the motor moving. So the motor is not moving the way it's supposed to be moving. I'm not sure why it's not showing up like X and Z is. Let's go and try to do a auto bed leveling. So when I auto level this, it's going to say that it needs to heat up to 120. Can't really see that. There you go. So it auto levels it. So at each one of these points, 1 through 16, after it heats up to 120 degrees Celsius, it's supposed to go through and be 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 16. So the system heats up, the hot end heats up, the bed heats up. The only issue I'm having is movement. First time it got stuck at 118 out of 120. It hasn't done that before. Normally it went all the way to 120, 121. So everything's plugged in. I have this plugged in all the way. Z's plugged in right here. I believe that's Z2. Yeah, Z2. Z2's plugged in. Z1 is plugged in all the way. This ribbon cable is plugged in all the way. All these cables are plugged in. Optical sensor is plugged in. And so it's still showing 118 degrees. So I went through and from help with the Facebook community, took apart the bottom of the power supply and the main board here to show some of the voltages that I am getting. So with negative and positive, I am getting 120 volts in, which is right, at the power supply. And then let's switch over to AC voltage, and I should be getting 24 volts to the main board, which I am. And to verify that here at the main board, getting 24 volts. But the funny thing is if I use this as a negative, sorry, this is kind of awkward. See if I can use that down here. Can't. Need 3 hands for this. So negative here. So on this pot, I'm getting 1.4. On this pot right here, getting 1.4. On this pot here, I'm getting 1.2. On this pot, I'm getting 1.2. And on this pot, I'm getting 1.4. So at a Z2, these should be 10 volts. I am getting 1.1. 1.1 on all of these connections. I'm getting 1.1. Same thing with that connection right there, 1.1. So I'm getting 1.1 on all of Z motors. I'm getting 1.1. Y motor or Y wires, I'm also getting 1.1 on all of the wires except the last 2. And this is supposed to be still trying to auto level, and it's stuck at 118. So I'm having an issue with the mainboard. Firmware is not working. The file says that it's supposed to be a hex file. I have a bin file. So not sure what Creality wants to do. Please let me know what I should proceed to do. I can't even back out while it's doing this. So let's turn the power off. Turn the power back on. I still have the SD card plugged in. But now it's showing that it's not even hot. It should be at 118, not 26. And it went back to -5 and -2 and 0. So what right there, it should have changed to -2 plus 10, should have changed it to 8 and went to 0. Like this, if I do 10 millimeters, it changes it to 5, which is correct. Z changes it to 10, which is correct. But it should be moving, and it is not. Again, this video is for Creality's Help Desk, and I'll let you guys know what Creality does.